Good evening and happy day after Rumble. Indeed. This is the Going Broadway podcast. This is Alex and Cole with you as always. Cole, what's happening?
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the greatest wrestling podcast ever. Hopefully, you guys had a great weekend. Obviously, we will be talking Royal Rumble recap. We got a few other segments in store for you this evening, but want to take a quick second to say what is up, everybody. If you're here, let us know in the chat, drop a hello. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about all that transpired this past weekend.
We got a lot to talk about, so we're just going to jump right in. Okay, so I would have saved this for our hot take segment later, but I wanted to kind of get this out there now. And like guys like Cole said, chime in whenever you feel so inclined to do, share your opinions. And this is going to kind of dovetail into a hot take I have later. However, you guys have probably seen on social media the video of Lacey Evans making her entrance and then pretending she's going to slap the hand of somebody who is looked to be autistic, special needs. And I hesitate to even use those titles because I don't know what is considered socially appropriate when it comes to things like that. But you guys understand where I'm coming from. And if you're familiar with our show, you know Cole and I have the best intentions when trying to convey something. That all being said, there is so much divide on social media, and I wanted to get your guys' thoughts. I want to get Cole's thoughts on this. But as a wrestling character, where do you draw the line? I'll be more specific. As a heel, where do you draw the line? Do you think this was okay in the context of what we saw is what we saw? Do you think it was over the line? Do you think it was okay? Do you see a problem with it? Do you not? Cole, I'll let you share your thoughts first, then I'll share mine. And Cole and I have not talked about this at all. Whenever we have a separate thread where we, talk about show notes and things like that, but this is nothing that Cole and I have talked about ahead of time. And I purposely did that because I wanted this to be sort of a fresh, organic conversation. So, Cole, why don't you go ahead? Kind of putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, I mean, I try to keep these kind of things off of social media because they just never garner good conversation. It always just seems like it becomes debate and arguments and whatnot. Oh, sorry, I was adjusting my mic. So I actually have a cousin who is special needs. So I say this as nicely as I can that I don't think her intentions or her plan was to single out somebody who has Down syndrome or any kind of special need. I don't think that was her intention. I think we take for granted that we're on the other side of the screen and she's coming out of the entrance. Everyone's, cheering, booing, crowd reactions are happening. There's a lot of people, a lot of faces. I think she thought potentially that was a kid that she could, she's known to stay in character. She's known to play her role through and through. And I think she kind of committed. And once she was committed, there was really no turning back. I don't think she intentionally singled based off how I saw it and what I viewed. I didn't see her just eye him down and say, yep, I'm going to go and pick on this person. With that being said, from those that I've met who either have someone who is special needs in their family or, deal with special needs in any kind of way, I would bring up this point. They will tell you that they don't like when people give special treatment as if that person is not a person, if that person's not human, or if they're not normal, or, whatever the case may be. I don't talk to my cousin like he's special needs, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I talk to my cousin like he's my cousin, you know. So I think that um I think that her intentions were probably to stay in character and bad judgment, maybe. I don't think that this is some malicious attack, that she did it with bad intentions. I think she was committed to her role and probably just got too sucked in the moment, too late to you can't go back. You can't be like high five,
Right.
fake it. Oh, go back and she had to sell that, and I respect it. I would also say this though. For that particular individual, this could all be super real to them.
Hmm.
You know how it goes for kids. This isn't kayfabe. This isn't a story. This isn't a men's soap opera to a kid or to someone who might have um, childlike comprehension of what's going on in the moment. I don't know if they do or don't. I'm just giving a perspective here of, if she would have came over there and hugged him, if she would have came over there, the best thing she could have done is just not have done it, right? Like, obviously, if we hindsight's 2020, we could go back and
Hmm.
say, yeah, you probably shouldn't have done that. And I would like to know that, I would hope to think that she would agree with that.
Right.
But because it happened, if she was super nice, or she had those why do you think they don't have the heels go and do like Make-A-Wish often, or they don't have them go and do the autograph signings, or the like when we were at Raw a few months back, Johnny Gargano went around at the end during a dark match and high five and took pictures with everybody.
Hmm.
How come Baron Corbin's not doing that? Well, the reason why is Baron Corbin's a heel. It doesn't make sense for the heel to do that,
Hmm.
so I think that because to that person, this could be real. We looked at the person that attacked Seth Rollins a year or so ago.
Yeah.
That person, special needs, but why did he do it? He said out loud, he said, I'm with the bloodline. I thought I was helping. Like, it was real. It was a reality of theirs that was real. And
Hmm.
so I think it would be weird if she didn't do it, to an extent. Like, I don't see I guess my point is, if we're going to start talking about drawing lines at this point, we should just stop having the people interact with the crowd altogether, because the society is starting to kind of get so hypersensitive about who and what you can say. And I don't want to get like on a political platform
Right.
by
Right. Right.
any
Yeah.
means, but things become so hypersensitive. And now it's like, well, I can't high five this person because of this, or I can't be a heel to this person because of that. And I can't, y'all, like, we were to go 10 years back, some of the things that these people said to fans,
Hmm.
this is minor. She faked a high five. I fake a high five to a 5-year-old at church every single Sunday. So, if we're gonna start it, we're playing. It's all play. Like,
Yeah.
she didn't spit on anybody. She didn't slap nobody. Like, we're talking about faking a high five. And what's cool is Kevin Owens gave him a shirt at the end of the show.
Hmm.
What this does is it creates heel and face moments for the crowd, because she went and played her heel role. Kevin Owens could go play his face role and give the kid a shirt and make it a special moment for. So if anything, I'm kind of like, it kind of got turned into good by the end of the show, because now you're like, Kevin Owens is the hero. All it did was help solidify. I mean, he's already over, right? But like, all it did was solidify his face role.
Hmm.
It solidified her heel role. Whether you like it, whether you agree with it or not, it got you to hate her. It got you to talk about her. It got you to do exactly what she wanted. She wants you to boo her. I mean, I guess where I'm at is if MJF would have done that, people would have been like, man, he's a savage, but we wouldn't be having this conversation. We
Yeah.
would have said, oh, that's MJF's character. We would say, oh, that's what MJF does, because MJF calls people pieces of crap and everything else at autograph signings, and people go there and laugh at it. She's just not as over. So I think it became very kind of negative Nancy mindset of, oh, she's military, she shouldn't have done that. She's this, she shouldn't have done that. She's that. Y'all, it's all made up. She's playing a role. She has a kid of her own. I'm telling you right now, I don't think if I was to put myself in her shoes, I don't think that it was intentional. I don't think she even realized in the moment who or what the situation was. I think that if you come out of a curtain and there's 20, 30,000 people in attendance and you're trying to play this role, you're not really paying attention to who's doing what. You're not paying attention to what somebody looks like, what they're doing, any of those things. You kind of jump, especially when they're walking down the ramp. I kind of went back and watched it 2 or 3 times, and it felt like to me that she had no intentions of doing any of that. She saw someone that by a glance of an eye looked like they were super invested in her, and she wanted to use that as a moment to get over. Maybe just pick the wrong person, because it can ruffle feathers. But what I'm reading comments here. But yeah, so just long story short, I didn't bother. There's worse things that I've seen happen. There's things that I think are more inappropriate that people get praised for as a heel, that they do or have done. I don't think that this was intentional, and I'm not gonna sit there and harp on her and say, ban her and all this stuff that I've kind of seen people say. If this was consistent and she's always finding a special needs or somebody who has a a, a physical appearance or a mental thing that's different than somebody else, like if she was singling those things out, now we might have a conversation. But for me, I saw something that was maybe just lack of good judgment in the heat of the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it was intentional, done with malice, and I don't think it's something that she should be penalized for or held accountable for doing it.
Sure. You bring up an excellent point, and to be honest, one I hadn't even thought of. If you're in that moment, if you're that person walking down the aisle, and like you said, there's 10, 15,000 people, however many are there, and in that moment, you just might see somebody in the crowd that's got their hand out and, not looking, noticing, not being observant enough to see who's doing it. Like you said, hindsight's 2020. She might have not even known in that moment what she was doing. Couple of points I wanted to bring up though. I think this was blown out of proportion. So I'm seeing it from both sides. I think it's blown out of proportion because of that social media post you made a few weeks ago or a month ago or however long ago it was. Most of us know what it was. Pretty controversial in nature, and we're not ones to say we agree or disagree with anybody's opinion, post, or whatever, because we're all entitled to our opinions. They're just that. They're just opinions, and we're not one to publicly say whether we agree, disagree, in the middle, whatever. You guys get it.
Right.
Now, that being said, I look at it from the standpoint of no matter who did it, who Lacey Evans, MJF, whatever the heel role is. Now I'll preface by saying I know it's easy for me to say this because it's not me. I'm not the one in that moment. But I would like to think that you are, as a talent, observing your crowd, because that's what you're taught to do, is not only be observant, but read the crowd to play the role that you're playing. I will say I posted on our Twitter that and guys, for what it's worth, most of the stuff, if not everything you see on Twitter, I'm the one that's posting that. I posted that I wasn't happy with it. I think it could have been, I think it was in bad taste. Now, whether it was intentional or not, I don't know. But to add to that, we also don't know if this was a situation where, this guy connected with people within WWE, if he had like a backstage experience, whatever you want to call it, and they said, "Hey, we'll do this, this fun little spot with you where you pretend to give Lacey Evans a high five. It'll get you on TV. It'll be fun. That all could have happened. We might not know about it. And if it did, this is a pointless conversation that we're having right now. But let's assume for our conversation that didn't happen. My opinion is that I feel like it could have just not been done at all. Another reason I'm kind of sour on it, and this has nothing to do necessarily with the actual high five or pretend high five or nothing to do with that, but it's like, how many times are they going to repackage Lacey Evans and us, like, I don't know, just get tired of it, And it's like, she's a face, she's a heel, she's this character, she's that character, she's military, she's whatever. I forgot what the gimmick was prior, but it's like, I don't know. There's just so many factors involved that people aren't even considering on social media, and I can see it from both perspectives. Those that think that it was in bad taste, and knowing what I know, or maybe I should say, maybe not knowing what I don't know, I can agree that it was in bad taste. But at the same time, I also, Cole, I see it from your perspective that hindsight's 2020. If you're in that moment, it could have just been a lack of judgment. Lack of better judgment. And so prior to you saying that, I was, mostly on the side of just kind of being sour on it. But, you kind of gave me a new perspective on it, and I can easily see that. I will say that a lot of people on social media that are just like treating it as if it's, this is the part, and I'll kind of wrap up this, my spiel, I should say. I'll wrap it up by saying this. I disagree with the mindset that at least in the world we live in now, for lack of a better way to word it, I don't think a heel should purposefully do that kind of thing. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Lacey Evans, MJF, whatever. If somebody is, again, special needs, autistic, Down syndrome, whatever, again, I'm not trying to be insensitive in any way. I don't know enough about it to know if there is, or if there are titles I should and shouldn't use. So please forgive me if I'm not articulating this to the sensitivity that it deserves. But that being said, if there's somebody like that in the crowd, I disagree with a lot of people on social media that are saying, well, they're a heel. They're supposed to play that role no matter who it is, blah, blah, blah. I disagree with that. That's just my take on it. I don't think you should purposefully do that sort of thing unless it is discussed ahead of time with the individual privately, backstage, whatever. So,
yeah, and you bring up good points. There's actually a gentleman here in the area. He's got a TikTok that's blown up. I actually pointed him out to you at Raw or Royal Rumble. I think we saw him at both.
SmackDown.
Or SmackDown. When did we go to SmackDown?
SmackDown was the last one we went to.
We went to, that is right. We went to SmackDown. Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
Raw's in March.
They're all over the place. But his name's Derek. I forget his last name, but he's got a TikTok. But anytime he does a lot of the Special Olympics stuff when WWE's in town, and he's gotten to meet like Dominic Mysterio and Rey Mysterio. He's also gotten to meet The Miz. And The Miz, obviously, way more experienced too, to his credit. But he kind of plays like a kind heel role with him. He'll joke with them and tell him like, I'm gonna beat your boy Rey Mysterio. This, he's in his gimmick. He's doing his thing. But there's a little bit more experience there. So what I'm getting at though is that there are moments where WB is obviously setting the stage to keep this real to those that still. It's kind of like, cover your kids' ears, but it's kind of like the whole Santa Claus thing. Like you keep doing it until it's not a thing anymore, right? Like, and so there's always that. And I think, kind of to wrap it up on my end as well, it's like I always have grace for people's failures. Like, if it's a one-time mistake, Triple H made a kid cry. You know what I mean? Like, and after the show went off air, they got him a T-shirt, gave him a hug, let him walk into the ring. Like, they have big hearts, but accidents happen.
Yeah.
I don't think that unless you can show me where she maliciously, targeted this person to go out there and do that, like I said, again, I would go back to the MJF thing. MJF targets people. I mean, straight up targets
Mhm.
people and calls them out. Now, I'm not saying he's done it to somebody like in this scenario, but he targets people and he calls them out. I don't see a difference here, I guess, for me to be like, okay, unless you can show me she targeted and said, I'm going after them because of this reason to try to get heel heat. I think it's blown way out of. And even if she would have done something worse, like spit on him or called him a name, again, it's the high five, gotcha, pulled it away. Like I I just think that's so. It's too playful for me. It's too immature for me to get overly hyped up, like, and again, we got to look at the names. Unfortunately, play a role here. We're talking about Lacey Evans, someone who had been off TV. Like you said, she's been repackaged several times. No one's behind her. I think this is her first appearance back on TV in a few months, right? Like, I don't think she had been on TV at least in a few weeks. You
Yeah, at
know,
this point, I mean, she's been gone, came back, been gone, came back. I can't keep track. I mean, and I'll preface by saying that I don't watch SmackDown because just it's Friday night. I just rarely have time, and if I do have time, it's never the night of. It's 2-3 days later potentially. I mean,
right?
and that would be like after we've already
Talked
done the
about it.
show. So
So, my point is that no, if another established star had done it, I don't think you would have seen the same reactions. Doesn't mean people wouldn't have the same feelings, but I think you would see more people saying maybe something similar to what I'm saying now. Is that at no point that I say it's right that that I'm for people doing that. I just think that it happened. It is what it is. It doesn't happen on a regular basis.
oh, for
And it
sure. Did we lose Cole?
Am I
Oh,
back?
you're back.
I
There you
froze.
go.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, if this happened all the time, I would be like, yeah, maybe there's a problem. But because we're talking about a one-time thing and we're talking about a fake high five, it's so minor to
Yeah,
me.
and one time thing, like you said, it could have just been a lapse in judgment, not even being attentive enough to know who she was doing it
Go
to.
go watch the video too. I'm just saying, based off appearance, if I glanced in that moment, he looked like a kid. I'm not gonna lie. Like I don't know his age. I don't know anything about him. I'm just saying that I do. For instance, I was out performing this weekend. I had to literally shut my phone and everything off because I didn't want any Royal Rumble spoils. I want to be able to watch it and be excited and so. But I do shows all the time. When I'm on stage, I can't tell you who's where, who's doing what age they are, what they everybody is just a moving object to me at that moment because
Yeah.
there's so many things going on and I'm also in entertainer mode. So I'm trying to perform. I'm not thinking about who's doing what where. Maybe I should. Maybe there needs to be more practice into the art of being aware of your surroundings and all that stuff. Maybe that's not something that she has gotten a good grasp on yet. But first glance, second glance, coming down the ramp, I had to watch it 3 or 4 times just to understand the gravity of what was going on. So, I'm gonna chalk this one up to made a mistake, no harm, no foul. And the notion that everyone's saying that she embarrassed him, who said that? Did he say he was embarrassed? Did the people that were with him say he was embarrassed? Did you interview him? Because I don't know where you got his emotion from. All you saw was what she did and then jumped to a conclusion. He might have loved it.
Oh
You
yeah.
really don't know what the emotion was. I'm not trying to speak for him either, but I'm just saying You don't know what the emotion was, but regardless, at the end of the night, he went home a happy camper because he got a KO shirt.
Yeah.
And so I think Triple H did that when he messed. You see some of these people when they've upset a crowd member, they make it right. All right, so
Oh yeah,
things happen.
100%. Did you have anything you wanted to discuss for off the top, or do we just want to go right straight to Rumble?
I think there's a lot to talk about with Rumble. So
okay, yeah, we got plenty. So oops, skipping a segment here. All right. Oh, a lot to unpack. So first off, let's talk about this. Let's talk about the match order. Did you have a problem with how the card was structured?
So I actually had this conversation this morning with someone while I was at church because they asked me about it. Because I think, can you name another time that the Royal Rumble match wasn't the headliner? Has that ever happened?
Oh yeah.
Okay, because
Yeah. I mean,
I couldn't speak off the top of my head. I'm not a history buff.
Well, the one that comes to mind is Rock CM Punk from 20. I don't know, 20,
10, 11. I mean, it would have to have been early 2010s.
Yeah. Now, like, I'll say this. As far as last night's Rumble specifically, I was okay with Roman and KO going on last. I'm trying to just do a quick glance at when we've had Rumbles that didn't conclude with an actual Rumble match.
Right.
Let me see.
Well, the only reason why I bring that up is because I kind of had conflicting thoughts, because he was like, man, this Royal Rumble, I thought it should have ended with a Royal Rumble match. And then I was like, yeah, there's a part of me that agrees with you. But then also there's the part of me, you and I have had this conversation, Alex, of I think your championship match should headline. I think if you're having a main card champion, especially with a story as big as what the Bloodline and all that had been doing with KO, I think that, and with the way that match ended, I don't think you could have put that match middle, beginning of the show and had it go out the same way. So I'm gonna be real with you. I actually thought the card was perfect as far as lineup. I think putting the women on later was kind of maybe like a unspoken apology for Raw 30. With the having to cut the cage match, and some of them being, I know the Bella twins came out and said they were pretty frustrated that there was really no mention of the women's revolution and that kind of push. And I get what they're saying. What's funny is the next night on NXT, I think 90% of the matches on NXT were all women's matches. And then, again, you do this here at Royal Rumble. I don't think that was the intention, by any means, but I think that was their way of saying, hey, sorry, and to make up for it, we're going to kind of put you guys in a better spot on the Rumble card for that sake. So I was honestly more than okay with it. I thought also I wanted a match that was going to kick off the card with a bang.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we had 5 matches to choose from. We are saying we're both okay with Roman and Sammy headlining. I don't think you can kick off the show with LA Knight and Bray Wyatt.
Oh my gosh, no.
So your options are the women's title match, which I think was perfectly placed in the card. It needed to kind of be in the middle of the card because it would have gotten lost anywhere else. And so now your options are the men or the women's rumble. Well, we do the women's rumble first almost like every year. So I thought it was kind of a nice change of pace. And given how the men's rumble went, and we can get into that, I thought it made perfect sense because it was, it was just a tad bit predictable. I'm still okay with it, but a little tad bit predictable with the way it kind of came out.
For sure. Just real quick. I went back not quite 20 years as far as Rumbles go, but the 2 that I came across was 2013, Rock and CM Punk main evented. And then you go back to 2006, and at that point, you only had the men's rumble. There was no women's rumble at that point. The men's rumble actually went on next to last. So you had Kurt Angle, defending the World Heavyweight Championship over Mark Henry. That was the main event. And then the next to last match was Cena winning the WWE Championship, beating Edge.
So your main two titles and then
yeah.
the Rumble.
So
still makes sense to me.
Yeah, and I'm going to pull 2023 back up just a second. I don't have a problem with the structure of the card. I think I would change more relating to the matches themselves, the booking
Agreed.
aspect.
Yeah.
So let's just tackle it one by one. So we had the men's Rumble match. Predictable, like you said, Cody wins, eliminating Gunter. The thing I liked about this was you had the first time ever it came down to the two guys that entered in number 1 and number 30. First time that's ever happened. I would have done a few things different. I would have actually flip-flopped. I'd have had Cody come in 1. I'd have had Gunter come in 30. And just knowing what we know now, or I should say, being fairly sure of what we were sure of prior to the Rumble as far as booking, winner predictions, that sort of thing. I would have had, I still would have had Cody and Seth coming in 1 and 2. I feel like Cody coming in at 30, it's like that made it for me even more certain that he was going to win. Like, you can't have Cody coming in super late in the match and then just not have him win. Like, it wouldn't make any sense. And you can say, well, it would have been a swerve. It wouldn't have made any sense. It would have derailed any, not derailed. It would have made it harder from a believable storyline standpoint that, okay, he came in number 30 in the Rumble, but he couldn't last to win the match, but yet he's going to go on to WrestleMania to defeat Roman Reigns, who hasn't been defeated in almost 3 years at this point. It from a storyline standpoint, it wouldn't have made any sense. What else? I would have lost my train of thought here. Well, if there's anything about that match, what would you have changed? Because you might spark I'm drawing a blank right now, but I remember thinking there, and I really need to take notes before our shows. I need to take better notes so I don't forget things. But there was like 3 or 4 different things that I would have changed, flip flopped, etc.
Things I like. One, I like that they had Gunter in the match the entire time.
Okay.
I like that they had him beat Rey Mysterio's record. I think the slow build of Gunter is so good. You're having him have a dominant intercontinental title reign. You have him in a faction that people enjoy. It's classy. There's nothing about it that it's just good. Everything's good. And so you made kind of what they did with Rhea, 2 years ago in the Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
You made him look so strong without having to push him directly to the title.
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely loved that.
And that's a valid point. I mean, you could have had Cody and Gunter come in 1 and 2, or Gunter. In theory, it doesn't matter. Gunter and Cody 1 and 2. You get what I'm saying.
You built Gunter up to be this name that you can't deny now. He's been unstoppable since they put him on the main roster. He had match of the year with Sheamus. I mean, at least a candidate. You could throw it up.
Oh
there.
yeah.
And then on top of all that, like I said, he's got a faction that's been over for years. Multiple years. And then on top of that, you have him go 60-something minutes with some of your top stars in that match. You gave him the double elimination on Drew and Sheamus. Mm-hmm. You did the face-off with him and Brock, which that was the only part of the match that was a little off. It's almost like they didn't know how to communicate there. Because if you go back and watch it, Gunter wanted to go at it with Brock. Brock, I think, was trying to communicate to him, we don't need to touch each other. We're facing off because Bobby Lashley's music's about to hit.
Yeah.
People think this is about to happen. You need to just let this and then let the moment break. Kind of like the Keith Lee Brock moment of a few years. So I think that there was a loss of communication there.
As I was going to speak to that point, that's one thing I would have changed. I didn't notice necessarily that it wasn't supposed to happen, and maybe you're right, maybe it wasn't, but I wouldn't have had any physical contact whatsoever with Brock and Gunther. I would have just had the face off, and then, like you said, Lashley's music hits, and we have our tease for it. I mean, guys, if this doesn't happen somewhere down the line, it's a travesty. Now, is it going to happen at Mania? Don't know. I'd actually venture to say probably not, but who knows? That might be a SummerSlam match later in the year. I think we'll get it at some point, but anyway.
So based on what I saw, it looked like Gunther kept like trying to get that notion. I think at one point the camera cuts away like right after it, but he looks like he's getting a chop, and then Brock's like no, and like he like stops and he's like, and kind of goes back into the stare down and all this stuff. But I thought the way they booked Gunther in the match was great. I I don't know if you caught it on commentary, but they made notion to the name that should not be spoken about Drew and Sheamus on the commentary, because Pat McAfee said, "What's their name?"
I missed it.
Yeah, Pat McAfee says, "What's their name?" And Michael Cole goes, "Well, it's banger after banger, right?" And he goes, "Yep." And he goes, "And what are we?" And Pat McAfee goes, "Bros?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "That's the name." And I was like, "Wow, you guys really pushed the line there." I do have to mention finding out that no one knew Pat McAfee was going to be there, that it was top secret.
Oh, so good.
Michael Cole and
Corey Graves.
Corey Graves' reactions were 100% authentic and real. That was his plane landed 20 minutes before the show started, and he walked right out.
Was that close?
Yeah, that's
I
what I
didn't
read.
know that. Yeah, I read that it was a complete surprise, but I didn't know he was cutting it that close.
Well, he was in Indianapolis that day, so
yeah,
I had to mention that though. That was great. And having Pat McAfee,
and I said this on our Discord. I said that those three need to call everything, every Raw, every
Pat
SmackDown,
McAfee,
every pay-per-view. I mean,
him being back was so refreshing. It just shows how good he is. But so I did like the Gunther booking. I did not like, I mentioned Drew and Sheamus. I did not like having them be basically buddy the entire match. They have always teased them slapping each other hard and wanting to fight. At some point, they should have looked at each other and said, "Okay, this is still all for one for all. Like this is this is the moment," and they should have went at each other. So that kind of was a negative for me. But the thing I really wanted to focus on as something I would change, there's a few other things that I like, but something I would have changed was the Rey Mysterio booking.
okay.
I wouldn't. I know he got hurt. I read the report. You don't play his music and then don't have him come out and sell the injury at least. There should have been, if you're going to have his music hit, there should have been a safe way to keep him from not going into the match. With that being said, you wasted a spot. Someone mentioned it's a 29-man Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
You wasted a spot. No one entered. You have all this talent sitting in your back room. You had all the phone calls in the world you could have made to another one-off surprise entrance. Obviously, we knew Zack Ryder had to have been in the building because, spoiler alert, Chelsea Green was there. And so, there's an option right there. There's other names is my point. You could have JBL come in with Baron Corbin. Like there's just names. I'm thinking of names off the top of my head. Why wasn't Butch or Ridge Holland or who was the other name I was just thinking of? Mustafa Ali, Dolph Ziggler. There's other talent on your roster.
Any one of your guys from NXT, there was not one NXT
in the men's, which I noticed as well. I was like, like you were telling me you couldn't have had, it didn't have to be Braun Breaker, right? Like you could have done Tyler Bate, you could have done insert name.
Could have done Grayson Waller. I mean, it wouldn't have hurt him.
Any of those names you could have done. And so that bothered me. They had Dominic come out right afterwards with the mask, and I was like, oh, they're gonna they're gonna show Ray like on the floor here in a second.
Yeah.
And it did create a little bit of anticipation for me, because then when Edge came out and there was the Judgment Day stuff, I thought eventually Ray was going to run out and, you know, get in the Rumble. He would eliminate Dominic, and then it would set up a thing for Mania or, you know, whatever. But
Yeah.
it just never happened. And then I was kind of like, so we just didn't have anybody come out. We just played his music and called that 29, you know,
Yeah.
or called that 30. So that was probably the main thing I think that bothered me outside of what you already mentioned. I don't know if I would have had Cody coming at 1. I think that, not that he doesn't deserve it, but I think that 1 spot needs to be kept special, and it needs to be kept to a limited amount of people who get to win it from the 1 spot.
Well, and I forgot, I left something out too. So this was the big thing that I forgot. Seeing the pay-per-view again, knowing what we know now, and with WWE, or maybe with one of the wrestling reporters, and I don't want to say dirt sheet because whoever reported on it, I forgot who, but it was somebody reliable, or historically reliable, I should say. They basically said that, you know, WWE was already pleased with some of the surprises that they had planned, which is why they announced Cody's return ahead of time. Knowing what we know now, seeing what we saw, I wouldn't have announced Cody's return. I would have had it be a surprise and had him enter in at number 1.
Yeah, again, I definitely would have left it a surprise. I think anyone in their right mind could have agreed with that. I'm not sold that it needed to be even in the top 15. I would have been okay with him coming out at 25. I would have been okay with him coming out at 22. A number that doesn't guarantee, like you said, as soon as he came out as 30, also seeing that you didn't even put Sami Zayn, Solo Sikoa, any of the guys in the bloodline in that match, period. That bothered me as well, because that took away like half the people that we could have guessed to win, you know, been viable guesses to win. So when that happened, I was like, oh, yep, he's winning. And then the pop was, I think, lesser than what it could have been, because you knew at 30 he was coming out.
Oh, yeah.
This is also back-to-back years you had the 30 spot win. Brock Lesnar won in the 30 spot last year.
Yep.
So I was kind of like, oh, like, it doesn't have to be the 30 spot that wins. I know that he was returning. I know it was a big injury. You know, we were kind of skeptical until they announced it, if he was truly going to be healthy in time for it. You know, I'm almost curious if there were other names that they were hoping would be ready and weren't, like an AJ Styles, Big E. You know, were they kind of on the fence and didn't know? You know, so there's curiosity there, but I would have had him come in any other number but 30. You know, 20, somewhere in the 20s. I think you kind of, the anticipation's built up. So that bothered me that he was 30.
Yeah, and I agree with Thomas here. Like, I'm not counting Booker T. I'm not counting Edge. I don't see those as surprises. Like, we all know what we assume a surprise is. You know, somebody debuting or returning to the company. Even if it's somebody that's, you know, a one-off, which we'll get to that.
I have to say, I did enjoy Booker T, even though it was short-lived. I enjoyed the Booker T moment.
Here's what I didn't like about it is, you know, whoever was on commentary that was like really selling that, you know, he didn't look any different than last time he was in the Rumble or however long it was. He did. Like, you can tell he's not the same Booker T as he was. Like, he was, first of all, if you go back and watch, he looked like he was limping down the aisle.
Right.
Like,
He
down to the ring.
definitely had like he's slow. You know, he's not the same. You know, obviously they were it's like overselling Hulk Hogan in the late stages of his career.
But it was just like, really, guys, like, you don't have to overplay this. We know he's coming out just to do the Spinner-Rooney spot because he's from Texas and he's going to get eliminated. Sure enough, it's exactly what happened. And you know what? Cool, fine, not a big deal. But whenever your biggest surprise, who I also was, you know, I suggested this could be a surprise entrant. Whenever your surprise entrant was Logan Paul, you know, I mean, look, it is what it is. I don't know if they're gradually wanting to get away from the annual surprises.
Right.
And if that's the case, then okay, whatever. So I don't know. But
Now,
now I will say props to Logan Paul real quick. Him and Ricochet, that
that spot.
spot. Wow. Now that spot's been done before, not only in WWE, but it's been done on the indies before. So it's not like it's anything new. But that, like,
But on the main stage like that, where you give it that kind of spotlight, I mean, I watched. I had to go. I know they replayed it several times. I had to go watch it even more. Like
well, and
the
because of the actual collision, like
the sound
this wasn't a double clothesline. I mean, this was just like
run into each other.
shoulder to shoulder.
They
So
smacked chest like it. I was very impressed. But here's something I have to give the counter argument too, because you hear the complaints on this too. I wish WWE would use their guys and stop bringing in the legends and stop bringing in the part-time superstars and yada yada yada. And then they use their guys and we're like, oh, we didn't get no surprises. We didn't get yada again. There's Brock Lesnar, there was Edge. Obviously there's a few of those part-timers still sprinkled in there. But to be fair, this year they've been or within the past year, they've been pretty consistent of being on TV more than past years.
yeah.
Brock Lesnar was on TV majority of 2022. I mean, there was a few months. Edge, at least 6 to 7 months probably on TV if I had to guess. So you can't even really call them part-time at that point. So I have to give WWE credit for betting on their talent.
Yeah.
And saying, you know what, we can put a Royal Rumble together without bringing in X, Y, and Z to do it.
Yeah.
I thought for what it was, again, no real surprises. We can get mad or upset about it all we want. The quality of the match, though, outside of the Kofi botch, which I was kind of upset about,
But here, and that's the other thing I was going to say. I wouldn't have known it was a botch if they hadn't said it. Like,
well, his leg did stay off the ground. That 1 foot, it never touches. They probably could have kept it going.
Sold it as if like, okay, he never got eliminated.
Never did. But
Yeah.
I think that they didn't know how to get him back upright without having him touch. And it is what it is. It doesn't affect the match. He obviously wasn't going to be the winner, so it doesn't affect anything. But overall, for what the match was, I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. It didn't bother me. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Could it have had bigger star power? Sure. But for once in a blue moon, we actually had WWE use who they have for the most part. And I was very thrilled to see how and all the different angles of storylines they can go forward with.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I'm thinking it looks like they're going to do Seth Rollins and Logan Paul. That was teased heavy. Do you have a lot of teases?
I definitely think they're going the route of Seth Rollins and Logan Paul. I mean, how can you not at this point?
Logan Paul looked great again, y'all. Like you got to give the man props. The buckshot lariat that he did was phenomenal. I mean, just
he's 2 for 2 on it.
I'm impressed, and he's already good on the mic. He's got the look. So, but they did that. Gunter, has several people they teased him against. I don't know if we're getting Bobby and Brock at Mania or if it's going to happen at Elimination Chamber. I'm trying to figure out what they're doing there, but obviously that's not done.
I really do hope we get it at Elimination Chamber, so maybe we'll get Lesnar and Gunther at Mania. I'm skeptical at this point, but I mean, how many times have we seen Lesnar and Lashley?
This will be the rubber match. This will be
number 3. Okay.
So it needs to happen. I think you're 1-1, and both of them were done kind of by like cheating in a sense. So I want to see it. I hope that and I'm okay with it if it's at Mania. I think what's actually going to happen is that they might do Gunter and Sheamus again at Mania and have Sheamus get the win. So he wins the IC title, gets it off of Gunter, so you can get him ready for the big time, making him a viable competitor for whoever walks out of WrestleMania as WWE champion if they split the belts up, however you want to do it. So
the way you said big time just now sounded like Owen Wilson. Okay, so
wow.
let's give these individual match grades. I know sometimes we do this, sometimes we don't, but what's your grade for the men's rumble this year?
I'll call it a B minus. Not spectacular, didn't blow my mind, but solid.
Okay, I'm going to give it a B. I mean, there's definitely some things I would have changed, but I mean, it was fun for what it was. Guys, those of you that were harping on that this was the worst men's rumble ever, you didn't watch last year's rumble. I'm just saying. And we were there
I would have
live.
much rather been in attendance at this one
Oh my
versus what we
gosh.
saw.
I mean, I'm pretty convinced that Cole and I were at the worst rumble of all time.
I was appreciative because of the seats that we had and the experience. Like, to say I at least got to go to one was cool.
Yeah.
But by far the least entertaining show I've ever been to.
Yeah. Okay. Bray Wyatt defeats LA Knight in the Mountain Dew pitch black match. 5-minute match. It was literally a standard wrestling match under black lighting. I just thought this was garbage. It made LA Knight look terrible. The Uncle Howdy spot at the end where he dove off. I mean, the spectacle of it was cool, but he completely missed by like a foot or two. I have nothing else to say. I was just like, I thought it to be as blunt as I can be. I thought it sucked.
I will.
And I'm giving it. A match has to be really bad for me to give it an F, but I'm going to give it a D. Thomas Russell, you and I are in sync, buddy.
I'd like to try to give something positive. I liked the idea of what they did. I liked. I'm always for pushing the boundaries. I'm always for trying something new.
I respect your opinion, buddy, but last year's Rumble was awful.
Initially I was like, okay, this is cool. When I saw the black lights, and I'm like, okay, it's different. Like,
it looked like Jeff Hardy should have been in the match.
True. I enjoyed LA Knight's intentionality to wear like the brightest tights that he could find, and the Bray Wyatt face paint I thought was kind of cool. So I appreciate the attempt. I'll put it that way.
Okay, let me ask you this: has and Cole, this question for you, question for everybody out there: has anybody tried Pitch Black?
I've had it once. It's actually not bad.
Like recently, or when it first came out, like a few years ago? Because I've heard it tastes different.
Oh, maybe I need to try it again. I've had it once. I couldn't tell you when I had it.
Maybe we should have a Pitch Black taste test on next week's show. Maybe we need to both find a bottle and
we can do that. We can do that. Well, our show will be unofficially sponsored.
Unofficially,
Pitch Black.
I like it.
So, yeah, I appreciate that, and see, I think I'm gonna disagree that it made LA Knight look terrible. He was gonna lose. All right, like there was no way that he was coming out of that match the winner. In Bray Wyatt's first thing. So if you're wanting LA Knight to be the next top guy, you shouldn't have booked him against Bray Wyatt in his first pay-per-view match. Now, to be fair, people are raving about LA Knight still, about how he's done on TV, his mic work, he's the total package. You need to push him. I don't think this hurt him. I think people knew what it was going to be. And you move on. You don't have them do 6 matches. You don't have them fight again in Elimination Chamber. You move on. You just
I just feel like you could have picked someone better in this situation where it doesn't feel hokey. And LA Knight, if LA Knight feels like he's above this, if that makes sense. Even, and that's not a disrespect to Bray Wyatt, he's above this match. Like, I feel like that you could have put so many other people in this spot that it feels like, to your point, it seems like this is a one-off with Bray Wyatt and insert wrestler, and no,
I would agree with you that I would have much rather have seen LA Knight in the Rumble. I think, especially with the Rey Mysterio spot and all that. Like, for me, you almost could have flipped it and had Rey and I know Bray's the face, still kind of a face right now, so that's hard to do that. Find a heel that you're okay with that happening to. Baron Corbin's on Raw, so like that would be someone I could kind of be okay with. Dolph Ziggler, you could have easily done that with him.
Is
I agree.
Bobby Roode's still hurt, isn't he?
Yeah, he's still recovering neck surgery, I think.
Yeah.
So obviously I think I could agree that there was other names they could have done, but I think that if you remember, they started promoting this match like 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this has been a slow build. This has been the match that they've been promoting from Rumble before they promoted Rumble matches. So I think it was just to kind of help sell tickets. His name was on it. Obviously it proved that he's a draw. People are enjoying him. Was it good? Nah, it was okay. I don't think I hated it as much as others. It didn't bother me, but it wasn't good. It wasn't like, oh my good, like, I'm trying to think of other matches they've done with Bray, and I'm just kind of like I enjoyed the Hell in a Cell match with Seth Rollins more than this.
Yeah, I feel like saying okay is being generous.
I like that Uncle Howdy was there. The spot, like you said, poorly timed, but to be fair, if that is in fact Bo Dallas in that suit, name a time you've seen him jump off of anything. Okay, because that was probably his first time. I don't know how many practice runs you get on jumping off in the pitch black dark off of a high structure and aiming that right. But I was good with it. Now I must have missed it. It happened so fast I couldn't see it. Were those real life Firefly Funhouse characters? Were those people acting like the real life ones, or was that the puppets up on the screen or whatever that was? Like, they mentioned it, but I couldn't tell what it was. So if y'all saw it, if that's real life characters, that's hinting at something, and I'm curious. But overall, I don't think it hurt anybody, but I definitely don't think it helped anybody. I'll give it a C-.
Okay. I will actually be honest and say the next 2 matches I did not watch. I mean, I've only read about them. I've seen, just quick snippets of certain pieces. But anyway, Bianca defeated Alexa Bliss. I think we all kind of predictable. That's what I'm trying to say. 7.5 minutes. Cole, what'd you think?
I think
that honestly, good, huh?
Okay, so first off, I gotta say this, all y'all that hate on Bianca Belair, you all missing it. Bianca Belair is probably, in my opinion, as far as ability, is top 5. I mean, she's got more athletic ability than 90% of women's wrestling. Mic skills wise, I think that's personal preference. She doesn't bother me on the mic. Everyone that I kind of see that hates on her says she's annoying or she can't cut a promo.
And I have to side on that. I mean, I do feel like
I've seen worse. All right.
I've seen worse, but I feel like someone that's your champion, that's been champion for 300 days or however long it's been, it's like,
I get it, but I'm gonna be real with y'all. I think Alexa Bliss's promos are god awful.
I agree.
I think Bayley, since her return, has been terrible on the mic. I think Becky Lynch is iffy on the mic right now. I like she panders too much to the crowd, in my opinion. Like, if we're gonna really nitpick, Bianca Belair,
that's fair.
Think she misses cues. I think there's times where like she doesn't know kind of, but some of that is, how much did you get to do in NXT? If you go back, Bianca Belair wasn't doing a lot of that stuff in NXT. A lot of it was matches. A lot of it was in ring, scripted stuff. So my point is, she doesn't bother me that much. And I think she's had a great title run. Do I think it's kind of time to get the belt off her? Yeah, I think it's time for something fresh. Alexa Bliss was definitely not the person to have her, beat her for that. I think
unless it would. So this is one thing I would have changed, and I think this could have been a swerve that worked if it would have propelled this storyline with Alexa Bliss and whatever associations he's going to have with Bray Wyatt, Uncle Howdy, whatever. Like, if it just like floored it into high gear, so to speak, instead of like, I feel like the tease has gone on for too long. If it would have somehow propelled that storyline, not that she would need the belt, but if it would have propelled the storyline and it, would have provided a little bit of shock value that on otherwise was a pretty predictable card, I would have been okay with the title change here.
Yeah, I don't think it would have bothered me, but I don't think she's the person. And honestly, I think you're going to get Rhea Ripley and Bianca um,
Yeah,
at Mania. I think it's going to be a great match. I think that's the way to go. I think Rhea's the one that should beat her, and I think that's what will probably take place. I'd be shocked if they run Rhea and Charlotte back. I think there's other options there that you can do. So,
agreed.
but that's just my thoughts. The match to me, I'm gonna be real with you. I probably would have flipped them though with what they're doing on SmackDown. I probably would have been more okay with a Charlotte Flair Sonya Deville match on this card than
Okay.
I would have been with the Alexa Bliss Bianca Belair match.
I think didn't they just have a match recently?
So that obviously they've been playing the storyline with the Uncle Howdy stuff, though. They fought at the last pay-per-view, but Alexa Bliss like attacked her afterwards because she saw
I thought it was on a Raw.
It was on a Raw.
Recently.
Yeah, like something happened and the Bray Wyatt thing happens and it hits her eyes and she goes crazy. And they did the interview and she smashes the vase on. So I get it, but let's put it this way. This match didn't have to happen for me. You could have put
Agreed.
a Usos tag match since they weren't wrestling on the card.
Yeah.
You could have put a Usos tag match against insert tag team, and I would have been happier than this match.
Match grade. What do you give it?
C.
Okay. Again, I'm not giving these next couple matches a grade because I haven't seen them. I'm just basing my commentary, so to speak, on what I've read about / seen clips of on social media. Women's Rumble match. Rhea Ripley won, last eliminating Liv. Now, this is possibly why they didn't do a 1-2 entry in the men's match going to the end, because that's exactly what they did here. Okay, I want to give my thoughts on this match just because they're going to be pretty short and sweet. I'll let you kind of discuss, some of the, surprises and whatnot. But my only thought is, and I've posted this on our social media already. I've posted this on our Discord. So you guys have probably seen, read, heard this already, but I'm going to say it again. I think it is to coin Gorilla Monsoon, as well as coin a segment we do here on the show from time to time. I think it's a miscarriage of justice that friend of the show, Kylie Ray, that there's no spot on, there's no spot for her in WWE, but yet you bring back what I have now nicknamed the Big Botch Machine. I'm trying to play off Kane's nickname. I mean, so it's funny that, her entrance gets botched. You can't write this stuff. But then I thought, well, maybe someone backstage did it on purpose to play a rib on her. I don't know. That's not something I read. That's just something I thought of in my head. It's like, oh, that'd been funny if someone backstage just was like, hey, this will be funny. Anyway, but in all seriousness, whether this was a one-off or not, you literally could have had anybody else in the Rumble and, move numbers around. Like, I'm not even saying it has to be Kylie Ray. It could have been, again, literally anyone else. I would have been okay with one of the Bella twins over Nia Jax. I would have been okay with insert any other female that has been in WWE. Throw a Lunder Blaze in there, Medusa, whatever. And yes, I get that Kylie is an unknown, but she still has name recognition. People know who she is. She's been on NWA. She's been on AEW. She's been on Impact. If you don't know at least the name Kylie Ray at this point, you probably only watch WWE. And I'd venture to say that despite what social media likes to portray, there probably aren't too many wrestling fans out there, or at least there's not as many as we think that only watch WWE, and otherwise just live under a rock and don't even have any interest in any other wrestling companies out there. But again, I'm not even saying it has to be Kylie. Uh, Kelly. I mean, my goodness, like just anybody else. And then you could have had Chelsea Green be your surprise entrant at number 30. I don't know. It's ridiculous. The other thing I was going to say, and then I'll let you chime in, but I like that they did away with the Dewdrop nickname finally. It's Piper Niven now. And I think this, I mean, it looks like she was in the Rumble for almost a half an hour. Is that right? I mean, she was in there for a while. She lasted till like the last 5 or 6, I think. Anyway, but I think this immediately, just by the virtue of the name change, automatically throws her in to an upper card picture. I'm not saying she's in the title picture immediately, but I mean, she's not where she was. So anyway, and yes, I'm sure Nia Jax didn't have anything going on. I'm sure she got a nice little payday for it, but I really do hope it's a one-off.
Drop. I was actually, sadly, as much as I've hated on that name, I was very bummed not to hear that in her music anymore. I will. So to touch on that first, absolutely love the name change. Because Piper Niven, before getting called Dewdrop, was phenomenal on NXT UK. Had a lot of potential, and they just I mean, you partner with Eva Marie, you call her Dewdrop, and then you ruin her.
That's another good example. I'd have rather seen her than Nia Jax.
So
just saying.
Very happy that Piper Niven, they made her look strong. Hopefully they use her. If they were smart, they'd put her on SmackDown. If they were smart, they would see how she's taken by the audience here from now to Mania. Maybe she's Charlotte's competitor. I still am liking Raquel Rodriguez versus Charlotte for Mania. I think that's I think you'll see an Elimination Chamber match that decides the number one contender for the women's championship at Mania for SmackDown. And I think you'll see Raquel win that. But Piper could be a good backup with how they made her look. I also think they're making, regardless, I know we talked a lot about her already, but regardless of what's happened, I think that Lacey Evans looks strong. I've always been a fan of Lacey Evans in the ring. I think that she's extremely talented. I kind of like the Sergeant Slaughter Cobra Clutch thing that she's doing. I'm with it. I think there's potential there. My question to you is, obviously, I am not a Nia fan by any means of the word. I would agree with the sentiment that I hope it's a one-off. I don't think that she needs to be back now. Like I said, I like to give grace for people's failures. She's been off TV for a while. Maybe she's been in the gym. Maybe she's been working with people to get better at not trying to end careers. But I'm trying to be positive here, so that if she is back, I will give her one chance. Then the second you hurt somebody, you need to go back home, sit down, find out something other than wrestling.
Well, okay, this is what I was going to ask you, and you guys in the chat can clarify. I read that she potatoed or sandbagged one or two people during the Rumble match. Did that happen? Or
I didn't see it like that. I mean, the reality is this. When you're as big of a girl as Nia Jax, there's going to be some things that look like she jacked the living tar out of you. Piper Niven's done that a couple times, in my opinion, with the Dewdrop character that she had. When you are Zelina Vega going up against Nia Jax, I don't even know if that happened, but I'm just giving it as an extreme example. Rey Mysterio looked like he got jaw jacked by Big Show so many times because
Probably.
of, you know, like, doesn't mean that that's actually what happened.
Right.
So I didn't see it like that. My only question is this. Here we are, men's Rumble, we're saying we wish we had more surprises. We wish there were were other names that you could bring out. You have not named one yet that is better though than Nia Jax. Like,
Yeah.
rather C, yes, but better, like in ring capability of winning, star power, surprise, shock. Like, I'm gonna be real. I think someone had said it in the Discord that Nia Jax is rumored to be there, but she was one of the last people on my list. I don't think, and not because they didn't care to see her. I really thought she was done. She was pretty adamant in an interview that she was done. So,
well, she turned down a Rumble spot last year.
I guess what I'm asking for is give me a name. Just give me one name that should have been the number 30 slot as far as a surprise entrance, as far as being able to carry what would be known as that. Okay, that needs to be the 30 spot entrant. We're talking even Cody Rhodes announced is a big name though for the number 30 slot. Yeah. So give me a name. Give me a name that should have been in that 30 slot. I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate here because they surprised me. I'm not saying I liked it, but they surprised me at least. And that's what I think what was the goal there. She didn't win. Doesn't bother me. She didn't really last that long. They threw her out pretty quick.
I'm trying to think of anyone that would have,
guys, I would love for it to be Kylie, but let's just be realistic. Kylie, as great as she is, as good of a friend of the show, the star power is not there for a number 30. She would have came out
looking for somebody that would generate a reaction,
a
positive or negative.
A pop, a buzz. If she would have came out at number 10, I'm with you. But we're talking about in that number 30 slot, maybe Beth Phoenix, just because she had made the appearance earlier in the show with Rhea. You could have had her come out and, done the face off and all
Even
that.
Then, though, I mean,
but it's not really a shock, right? Like,
no.
The bigger shock would be, they're about to go to.
Cole froze up again. Uh-oh.
For it to stop freezing and then I talk again. The more shocking thing would be if they just went right at each other and started brawling. But I'm just asking for someone to name me someone who would, not someone that's currently on the roster who's been on TV, because that's not a surprise entrant. Name somebody. Obviously, we could say Sasha Banks, Mercedes, Moné, but we kind of know where she's at, so that was kind of out. I mean, I don't even know if moving Chelsea Green to the 30th slot is a big enough, like, oh, wow. If it was Deonna Purrazzo, maybe.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I to your point, I think it's an excellent point because I don't know if you can really name anybody that would garner that reaction, the buzz, again, positive or negative. I don't think even Naomi, I don't think that does it, even despite everything that's happened. I don't think running back Mickie James again would do anything.
Like
Lita,
you said,
probably
you could
not.
do a legend like Lita or Trish, and you would get the pop maybe, but I don't think it's as special of a 30th slot. Like, to me, that still feels like a 15, 16, kind of slot. I couldn't think of a name. So
Tessa Blanchard's not a bad one. I mean,
to get people talking for sure, but star power, she's not it'd be no different than Chelsea Green, in my opinion. She's not, we're talking 4 or 5 years ago, maybe, but maybe someone from NXT, if maybe you could have done Roxanne Perez.
I think the only scenario that would have generated it is if you actually held off bringing back Charlotte until the Rumble.
So that would have been a good one as well. And again, I think that there was something with Ronda. I don't know what that would have been, but if you could have worked things back out with Mandy Rose, maybe you might have been able to get a pop, come to terms there. But regardless, I don't think there's a name, y'all. I'm asking for someone to give me a name. I haven't seen one in one chat yet. Everyone's complaining that it's Nia, and I'm like, okay, you can complain, but give me a name. Playing devil's advocate, give me a name that fits there better.
The only situation that would have garnered a buzz, reaction, whatever, is if for some reason, and weirder, well, I was about to say weirder things have happened. This would be up there. But if somehow WWE and AEW work something out to where, hey, we want to borrow Britt Baker, or I don't even know if there's anyone else on the AW roster that would.
Right. You could say AJ Lee, right? Like that could have been a name that you throw out there that could have garnered a pop, if you will. But my point is not to take a long time on it. There's not. Things I liked just shortly in the match. Loved the Rhea booking at number 1, having her look strong the entire match.
Stephanie McMahon.
Loved the Piper Nevin name change, making her look dominant. And I am here to start the hashtag that we need Michelle McCool at WrestleMania. Michelle McCool looks great in the ring, still has the what it takes, has that legend status, right? Like she can come back and do the Trish Stratus or the Lita match. I know I've thrown names out already. I am okay with a Charlotte versus Michelle McCool match at WrestleMania. I am okay with a Michelle McCool match against Bayley, Becky Lynch. Throw a top star in there if it doesn't need to be for the women's belt. Throw a top star in there and let them have it, because Michelle McCool 2 years in a row has looked like she hasn't missed a step. And I'm a Michelle McCool fan. I liked her as a heel when she was in her prime. I think that if you're going to do Trish, if you're going to do Lita, if you're going to do Beth Phoenix, you can also do Michelle McCool. Thought it was kind of cool that they had her come out from the crowd. They teased like she wasn't going to be in it, and then she just takes off the jacket and hops in. I thought that was funny. So overall, love the match. Again, I'm going to give props. They put a few NXT stars in here: Zoe Stark, Roxanne Perez. Indy Hartwell was actually kind of a shocker to me. I thought that was an interesting, not against it, just thought it was an interesting selection. But gonna give them props again. You didn't bring in a bunch of legends, like a crazy amount of them, like you did last year.
Oh
You used who you had. So that's where I'm gonna give credit, is that I am thankful this year that WWE, they used their talent. We complain about that all the time. That's probably our number one complaint when it comes to WWE. They used their talent this year. Asuka's character change, absolutely loved it.
Corey Graves made that moment too.
And the pop that she got was great too. But I also loved the finish. I loved the mist to who was it at the end? Was it Liv Morgan?
Nikki. I don't know.
I can't remember who it was at the end, but the mist to the eyes, and then Rhea does like the little hurricanrana to eliminate final. Like, I thought it was just a great finish. They made Liv Morgan look strong in this match too. I thought they did well by a lot of the women in the match for the most part. And so overall, I actually thought, as far as booking and things go, I actually enjoyed it more than the men's. I really did.
Wow.
I personally thought there was a little bit more shock value, a little bit more
that's an unpopular opinion.
Kind of edge of your seat feel to it. And that's just my opinion. I thought it had a little bit more unpredictability to it.
So overall grade, I probably need to get the show wrapped up in like 10 minutes, but overall grade for the Women's Rumble.
I gave the men's a B-. I'm going to give the women's a B. I thought it was very well done.
Okay. Final match. Pretty predictable. I mean, Roman Reigns won. About a 19-minute match. So many ways we could go about dissecting this match, and we just don't have the time. We all saw it. We all heard the pop. I would, at least how it came across on TV, maybe top 5 loudest pops I've ever heard since. I've watched wrestling since I was a kid. I've seen, videos of wrestling going back to, 60s, 70s. I mean, you're not going to have pops in the 60s and 70s, but I'm trying to convey this in the scope of wrestling that I've seen over the years and going back a number of years. I'd easily put this in top 5 of loudest pops that I've ever heard through the TV whenever Sammy hit Roman with that chair. And it was like, whenever you can classify a pop as a roar, that is what like puts it in that upper echelon of pops, so to speak. Cole and I discussed possibly giving our way too early predictions for Mania matches. Might save that for next week, just for time's sake. I mean, I don't even know how much, to be honest, don't know how much time we're going to give to our hot take segment. But anyway, the match itself, I did watch this match. The match was pretty well what I expected it to be. KO took a nasty, nasty spot on the steps with the back of his head. He took 2 spots. I think the second one was safer, but the first one just looked like back of the head straight on the corner, the edge of the steps. I have not heard anything if he was injured, concussed, whatever. But anyway, as far as the match itself, I was okay with the match. I'll give it a B. But post-match segment, I mean, couldn't have been any more perfect. In fact, it exceeded my expectations because they've teased Jey Uso leaving the bloodline as well. I didn't see that coming at all. And he posted something on social media earlier today that said something like, "I'm out," or something like that. So just, I mean, one of the best storyline and segments to climax a storyline that WWE's ever done.
Yeah, name a storyline in the past 5 to 10 years that has this kind of impact, that has this kind of draw. Like, there isn't many. This one, I mean, that whole segment had me on the edge of my seat. Like excited. I didn't know what was gonna happen. What I love about this story is that Sami Zayn hit Roman with a chair and yet was still apologetic. He didn't want to hit KO. Like, it didn't want to turn on Roman. It wasn't like he wanted to turn. He didn't want to do the other thing, and Roman was pushing his buttons. Turns to the Usos and say, "I'm sorry." You know, it wasn't like he started swinging the chair at the whole bloodline and said, "Okay, I'm about to hit all y'all." He still shows compassion for his people that he's calling family. Looks at Jay in the eyes, says, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." He looks at, then Jimmy, who's been his boy from the jump, is the one that super kicks him. And they go to town on him. Then, like I said, the tease of Jay leaving was very well done. What I love about what they did is they broke up the bloodline without breaking up the bloodline. And there's so many avenues you can take from here. You could try to repair the bloodline right now, all the way through Elimination Chamber. And still, I think that the rumor is that Sammy's kind of the poster child for Elimination Chamber right now. I think he's on the poster, the teased poster, or whatever. What if Sammy wins an Elimination Chamber to become number 1 contender at Mania as well? Obviously, they've talked about wanting to split the belts up. Maybe Mania is where they do it. Night 1, they put the belt up on the line against Cody. Night 2, they put the other belt up against the line against someone like Sammy. I'm just saying.
See, okay, that's where I gotta at least talk to that point real quick. I think it's got to be one or the other. I think it's either got to be Cody or Sammy at Mania, because I don't see how you can have Roman lose twice within the span of whether you do both matches at Mania, or let's say you have instead of having it be for a shot at the belt, let's say you actually have Roman defend one of the belts in an Elimination Chamber at the event. I don't think you can have Roman lose twice within such a short time span when he's not been beaten in like 3 years. Again, just from a storyline standpoint, I just see that as a big hole. So I think I feel like it's got to be one or the other.
I mean, you're definitely backed into a corner regardless, right? Because you don't want Roman to take losses. Like, I definitely get that. Organically, Sammy makes the story is there. It happened organically. I still don't want to see a KO Sammy versus the Usos. I think that's underplaying where this story is at. I like the idea of an Elimination Chamber win for Sammy, but again, now you got one belt off Roman already, and then the very next pay-per-view is Mania, Cody versus Roman. Are you going to have him lose 2 pay-per-views in a row?
I mean, unless for some reason you have a situation where, like for some reason Roman gets kayfabe injured and he's out of the Elimination Chamber match, so now the winner will actually win one of the championships.
Right.
And that way you still have him not being beaten going up against Cody for the other belt. But then I almost feel like you need to have the belt split up. So if you're going to go the route of Cody winning one of the belts and then Sammy winning the other, I was going to say you almost need to have Cody be the one to win the belt at Elimination Chamber, but it's in Montreal. That's where Sammy's from. I don't know. That's just such a, I don't know. But
there's long-term storytelling still to be happened here, though.
Yeah.
Because you could have Sami Zayn win at the Elimination Chamber. He gets a title shot at Mania, loses there. But then Roman loses one belt to Cody. He's still holding the one that he's held the longest. Going through Money in the Bank, Sammy wins Money in the Bank and eventually cashes in on Roman.
That's true.
And then beats Roman. Then I think we're all convinced that Sammy has to win first try against Roman. And I don't think that you could have people cheat against Sammy. You could have Solo Sikoa, whatever. You could have all these things interact, and Sammy's revenge then on them is winning the Money in the Bank and cashing in when the time's right. Who knows? That's maybe when Jey Uso helps Sammy win it, or there's an accident, whatever. But there's long-term storytelling that could still be done here is my point. Overall, the match itself, thought it was exactly what I thought it would be, a classic, hard-hitting match. I'll give it a B+. Segment, wow. I don't know if I only got one hot take for you tonight, so I'm going to save it. It pertains to this.
Okay. All right. I'm still going to give you some Lord Alfred Hayes.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
But we're going to kind of breeze through just our little promotional spiel, if you will. Check out our Pro Wrestling Tees shop, prowrestlingtees.com/GoingBrdwyPodcast. We do have a couple of new shirts up. Get your Colamania shirts now. They do come with red print on a yellow shirt. They also come with yellow print on a red shirt. We need to do something where if someone actually buys a shirt, you really should give them like a Zoom call or something. And I don't know. Got to give the people what they want.
Cry for people, I guess.
Okay, guys, you heard it here. If you buy a Colamania shirt, we'll set up a Zoom call with you. So Cole will at least talk to you for a few minutes, but he might give you some crying Cole. We'll figure that out. But yeah, those are up. Those are available for purchase right now. Just running through our guest schedule real quick. I'm not going to throw up the graphics, but we've got B. Brian Blair, who will be joining us. The date was changed so whatever the day is after the Super Bowl. It's a Monday. I think it's the 13th of February, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just look here. I can pull up my calendar.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So Monday, February 13th, we're having a special podcast that week. So 2 weeks from tomorrow, he'll be joining us a little earlier. That'll be a 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central podcast/interview. So looking forward to that. Bobby Fish will be joining us 2 weeks after that, Sunday, February 26th. Eric Bischoff the following week, Sunday, March 5th. Those are all at our normal time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. And then I believe 2 weeks after that, Sunday, March 19th, Marcus Bagwell is joining us, Buff Bagwell, if you will. And then 3 weeks after that. So it's the day after Easter, Monday, April 10th. So another special Monday show. Jake Roberts will be joining us. Excuse me. I ran out of my drink. What does the graphic say? I forgot what it was. I think it might be an earlier podcast time, but I mean, that's 2 months out. So we'll let you know. We'll keep you updated. Let's see. It is
6 p.m. Central.
Okay, so that's 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. Jake Roberts on April the 10th. Again, that's a Monday podcast interview. We just finished up our Royal Rumble matches 1 through 4. Just real quick, guys, thank you so much for participating in that. It was a lot of fun. I know it took a minute to get the matches 3 and 4 filled up. We do appreciate you guys participating in that. we are going to let things breathe a little bit before we start our next GBP gaming event, if you will. Sorry, guys. But Cole and I will figure out details. I think we're looking to start that mid to late February, if I'm not mistaken. If you want first dibs on your wrestler selection, your match selection, we'll keep you guys updated on how we're going to do this. But check out our Patreon page. For as little as a $5 commitment, you can get first dibs. Any gaming event that we do, our patrons do get first dibs on that, whether it's a Rumble, whether it's a GBP pay-per-view event, whether it's something completely different. I know we've done, I think we've done like elimination chamber matches for like gift cards before, smaller type events, which we might do one or two of those.
We'll sprinkle them in.
Yeah,
as the year goes on.
We might do a few of those before we do our GBP pay-per-view event, but we'll let you know. But our patrons do get first dibs on that. So if we do any of those sprinkled in events like Cole mentioned, and you don't see it posted on our Facebook page, that means our patrons already took them. So if you want to be included in those, or if you want first dibs, period, on any of those gaming events, join us over on Patreon. And there's other perks and benefits that you can be included in. I know that our gold and platinum patrons get to join us for a podcast of their choosing, either one date per year or 2 dates per year, depending if you're gold or platinum. That doesn't include interviews. So it's just limited to, a standard podcast like this. So, Cole, anything you wanted to add?
Nope. You nailed it, my friend.
Cool. All right. Let's you said you had one hot take, so I'll let you give yours, and then I've got a few that I could choose from. I might just give one or two.
I'll give you just the one. And is that I think the Sammy pop was bigger and better than the Daniel Bryan yes pop of the Triple H era, if you will.
You kind of took mine. Okay. So
we agree then.
I'll piggyback on that. I was going to say that this Sammy storyline is bigger than the yes movement in general.
100%.
I mean,
I think you and I are on that same page together, but I think there's a lot of people be like, no, because it's Daniel Bryan. No, Sami Zayn, organically launched himself into a main event player. Daniel Bryan was already a main event player who wasn't getting the recognition for it.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of us would have said Sami Zayn's a main event player until this, and has knocked it. He hasn't missed, period.
Yeah.
Period.
Here's another hot take, and this is going to be a cryptic one. And this is going to be something that I'll post on on our Patreon page, and I'll elaborate on it more on that. So if you want the backstory on this, you'll have to join us on Patreon. But again, I'm just going to leave it cryptic for now, but it's okay to do business with people that you might have disagreements with, whether it's from any standpoint, any walk of life. You don't have to cancel somebody just because they might look at something in a different way than you do. So
I need to become a patron member.
Well, you kind of already know. I'll explain it to you off air. I mean, it's not a super lengthy thing. Let's see what's another one I want to choose from. I feel like any of the other ones I'm going to bring up, it's going to lead to a discussion. I mean, I remember all of them, but I don't know. I was trying to keep this a shorter show. You know what? I'm going to make a note of 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 on my mind, and I'm going to save all of them.
Save them.
I'm going to save them. Just because I think all of them would be a lengthier discussion. I'll say this. 2 of them pertain to AEW. One of them pertains to Nia Jax.
Ooh.
And then the other one has more of like I'll say an overarching WWE creative type deal
Oh,
that I don't see any one of those four being a short conversation because I'd have to elaborate and just anyway. So guys, we're going to call it. It is about that time. Cole, any final thoughts?
guys, as always, thank you for watching the greatest wrestling podcast ever. We do sincerely appreciate it. Again, remember all of those things that Alex told you about just a moment ago, all of the guests that are coming up. Make sure you make plans to be here and tell a friend. Tell them to be on the show. I have not told Alex this, but I actually have a giveaway for the Eric Bischoff episode that we will.
Oh,
Yep, I'm doing it. I think you'll know what it is. But I'm giving something away. You have to be live on the show. We ain't doing this. Well, I couldn't be there. Nah, get on the show, live on the show. We doing a free giveaway. All you got to do is be in attendance through the entirety of the show. We'll do it at the very end. So, we might throw a keyword out middle of the show to make sure that you're in it. So just make sure you're on the show.
Or we might do a thing where we throw out keywords throughout the podcast and you have to do all of them.
So that's just what it is. So make sure that you join us for that. I think you'll like it. It's one of a kind. There's not many people who would have it. So, yeah. Okay.
Signed 8 by 10 of you guys, Eric and Double J.
Yeah, you nailed it. Kind of, but not really. Anyways, just wanted to say that. But yeah, become a patron. Keep your eyes out for the gaming stuff. And other than that, guys, I'm all out of tears, but I can give you your favorite thing in the entire world.
I had to give you guys something. That's all I got. We'll see you next week.